You're sitting on the couch. Your cat has been purring in your lap for 20 minutes. Slow blinks, kneading paws, the whole ritual. And then, without a single warning sign you could name, they turn and sink their teeth into your hand. Not hard enough to draw blood, just enough to make you freeze. You pull back, they stare at you, completely calm as if nothing happened, and you're left holding your hand, genuinely confused. What just changed? Most people land on one of two explanations. Either she's just moody, or he did it out of nowhere for no reason. But behavioral neuroscience tells a completely different story, and the real explanation reaches far deeper than mood or randomness. What your cat just did has a name. It has a mechanism, and once you understand it, you will never look at that moment the same way again. Researchers studying feline sensory thresholds have identified something that changes everything about how we interpret this bite. Stick with this video. What you're about to learn will permanently reframe what you think you know about your cat. If this kind of deep dive into feline psychology speaks to you, subscribing to this channel means you'll never miss the science behind the animal living in your home. Here's the myth most cat owners carry. The sudden bite is aggression. It's dominance. It's your cat asserting control or punishing you for some invisible social transgression. Some people genuinely believe their cat was being mean. Others decide it must have been accidental. Maybe they moved wrong. Maybe the cat was half asleep and startled. But behavioral neuroscience tells a completely different story. This bite is not impulsive. It is not random. It is a precise, neurologically governed response, and your cat had been building toward it for several minutes before their teeth ever touched your skin. The scientific term is petting-induced overstimulation, and it is one of the most well-documented phenomena in feline behavioral research. A landmark study published in Applied Animal Behavior Science tracked the sensory response thresholds of domestic cats during prolonged physical contact, measuring cortisol fluctuations and autonomic nervous system activation in real time. What they found was striking. As petting continued past a cat's individual tolerance threshold, cortisol, the primary stress hormone, began accumulating in measurable concentrations in the bloodstream. The cat's nervous system was shifting from parasympathetic calm into sympathetic alert. The purring you were hearing was not, at that point, contentment. It was a self-soothing mechanism, the feline equivalent of someone taking slow, deliberate breaths to manage mounting internal pressure. The bite is the body's circuit breaker. It is the nervous system's last available off switch when every other signal, the flicking tail, the skin rippling along the back, the slight stiffening of posture, was either missed or misread. What makes this particularly significant is that these pre-bite signals follow a consistent neurological sequence. The skin ripple, technically called a twitching response, is not a random muscle spasm. It is the sympathetic nervous system beginning to override the parasympathetic state, the body preparing for action while the mind is still deciding. Researchers at the University of Edinburgh's Royal Dick School of Veterinary Studies have described this threshold as individually variable but neurologically consistent, meaning every cat has one, it differs between individuals, and it operates the same way every single time. Your cat is not unpredictable. Your cat is running a program you simply haven't learned to read yet. Now consider where this mechanism comes from. Felis sylvestris libica, the Near Eastern wildcat from which your domestic cat ascends, lived a solitary hunting life in which prolonged, uncontrolled physical contact with another creature meant only one thing: predation or threat. Touch was data. Extended touch was danger. This wildcat existed in an environment where stillness meant survival and overstimulation meant death. Every nerve ending was tuned to detect change, to respond to excess input with immediate, decisive action. Over 10,000 years of coevolution with humans, cats developed something extraordinary: the capacity to tolerate and even seek physical contact with a species 3 times their size. But the neurological wiring beneath that tolerance was never fully rewritten. The sensory ceiling remained. The autonomic escalation pathway, cortisol rise, sympathetic activation, motor discharge, stayed structurally identical across all those millennia of domestication. What changed was only the threshold at which it activates, slightly higher now than in their wild ancestors, shaped by millennia of proximity to humans, but structurally identical in its architecture. The bite is not a betrayal of your bond. It is ancient hardware running inside a modern relationship. What makes this genuinely profound is what happens in the nervous system before the bite, in you, not just in your pet. Studies using heart rate variability monitoring in human-cat interaction pairs have shown that during extended petting sessions, human autonomic nervous system patterns begin to influence the cat's. Your breathing slows, your muscle tension decreases, your nervous system drops into a low vigilance state. And the cat, whose sensory apparatus is calibrated to detect the finest shifts in the physiological environment around them, are reading all of it. The warmth of your palm, the rhythm of your breath, the subtle changes in your grip pressure as you relax deeper into the couch. The cat is not just tolerating your touch, they are co-regulating with your nervous system, their internal state rising and falling in response to yours. And when their sensory threshold is reached, the bite is also, in part, a communication addressed to your nervous system, a sharp, impossible-to-ignore signal designed to interrupt the mutual drift and restore clear boundaries between two creatures who have momentarily merged too completely. Here is where most advice fails completely. The standard recommendation is to watch for warning signs: tail position, ear rotation, whisker angle. And yes, those signals exist, but the deeper problem is not observation. It is the assumption that the solution is external. Some owners try introducing calming pheromone diffusers into the room or rotating different types of tactile stimulation. What the research actually suggests is simpler and more confronting. Your cat is not reacting to the room, the furniture, or the technique. They are reacting to the duration and intensity of nervous system contact with you. The cat who bites at minute 22 during a calm evening will bite at minute 22 during every calm evening, regardless of what plug-in is running in the corner, because the trigger is internal. It is the cat's own cortisol arc, and the only meaningful variable is when you choose to stop. Shorter, more frequent contact, initiated by the cat, ended before the threshold arrives, not after it's been crossed. That is not a technique. That is a complete renegotiation of how you understand physical intimacy with a different species. Your cat did not bite you because something went wrong. They bite you because something went exactly as their nervous system was designed to go, and because they trusted you enough to be that close for that long in the first place. The bite is, paradoxically, a form of honesty that most creatures never offer. It is a boundary spoken in the only language ancient enough to be unmistakable. If this changed how you see that moment on the couch, subscribe to this channel and leave a comment below. I want to know, can you now identify, looking back, the exact moment just before the bite when your cat was already telling you something? And what did it look like?